It started.
Om yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedamscha prahinoti tasmai tam hadevam atmabuddhi prakasham mumukshurvai sharanamaham prapadye asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. Om shanti shanti shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwarah, Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha, Gurave Sarva Lokanam Bhishaje Bhavaroginam, Nidhaye Sarva Vidyanam, Sri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. So last class we took a small detour. So we went back to the early part of Viveka Chudamani and we started doing from shloka number 17 to 27. And we only did one shloka 17. So today we'll start from the 18th shloka. And I chose these shlokas because in the other part of Viveka Chudamani, where we are currently studying shloka number 361, 362 and all that, where the Nididhyasanam using Nirvikalpa Samadhi is being talked about. The Acharya has now come to a point where he is revisiting the Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti and Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti and all those qualities. So I thought we will go to the definition given in Viveka Chudamani itself to see what those qualities are. And in fact, in one of the very early sessions, sometime in the 10 to 15 session or something, when we actually quickly touched upon Bhagavad Gita, various chapters, and touched upon a few other topics, related topics, we did talk about Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti and Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. Just to kindle your memory, if you remember, we talked about the Yama Niyama as part of Ashtanga Yoga in the context of the 6th chapter. Then we talked about the 20 qualities which were discussed in the 13th chapter, starting from Amanitvam, Adambhitvam, where in the 13th chapter it is referred to as Jnanam. And then we also did a quick recap of the 16th chapter, where the first 3.5 shlokas list out some 26 qualities. Abhayam, Sattva, Sham, Shuddhihi, Jnana Yoga, Vyavasthitihi. So in that group of qualities, which we totally called Vedanta friendly qualities, I think I used that word there. So these are the Vedanta friendly qualities, the development of which is some kind of a foundation for a successful Vedantic practice. So in that context, we already covered those topics, but we are trying to do it in a structured manner as explained in Vivek Chudamani itself. So that is the background. Okay. So we will go to 18. Before that, anybody, any questions, any doubts? Or can we move on?
We can
No doubt from my side, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Then we'll do 18th shloka. Just chant along with me. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sadhananyatra chatvari
Sadhananyatra Chatvari
kathitani manishibhihi
Kathitani Manishibhihi
yeshu satsveshu sannistha
Yeshu
Yeshu
Sannistha
Sannistha
yadabhave na siddhyati.
Yadabhave
Yadabhave
Siddhyati.
साधनान्यत्र चत्वारि कथितानि मनीषिभिः येषु सत्स्वेषु सन्निष्ठा यदभावेन सिद्ध्यति. So sadhanani is the
Instruments.
sadhana is a tool or a means, you can say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sadhana is translated as a tool or a means to an end. You can say it's a means to an end. So sadhana in Hindi, very often sadhana is used as some kind of a spiritual practice itself. Okay. But here the word sadhana has a technical meaning. It is a technique or a spiritual tool, means to an end. And these are the four qualities. Chatvari means four. Atra means in this context. So in this context means the previous context, previous 17th shloka context. So vivekino viraktasya shamadi gunashalinaha mumukshvorevahi brahma jignasa yogyata mata, we saw in the last class. So there he briefly mentions the four qualities: viveka, vairagya, shamadhi, shatka sampatti, and mumukshutvam. Now he is elaborating one by one. Sadhanani atra chatvari kathitani manishibhihi. So kathitani manishibhihi means the wise people talk about it. The wise people talk about four qualities. Yeshu satsveshu sannishtha. Here the word sannishtha, the word sat and nishtha becomes sannishtha. Sat here means Brahman. So Brahmanishtha. Sannishtha here means Brahmanishtha, which is what we are ultimately aiming for. And yeshu satsveshu sannishtha. So in the presence of whom this Brahmanishtha can be achieved. Yad abhave na siddhyati. And in the absence of these four qualities, Brahmanishtha is not possible. So the Acharya is very categorical in this shloka that if one has to be successful in the spiritual journey along the Advaitic path where we aim for Brahmanishtha, we talked about Brahmavid Varaha, Brahmavid Variyan, Brahmavid Varishtha. We talk about four levels actually. They are kind of comparative. So that Brahmavid Varishtha is what Brahmanishtha, the highest. And that is possible only when these four qualities are available in a sadhaka in abundant measure. That is the 18th shloka. Okay. So I am trying to be very cryptic here. Is that clear or do we need more explanation?
It's clear.
Clear. Okay. So we'll go to 19. Yeah. Adau nitya vastu vivekaha.
Adau
nitya
nitya
vastu
vivekah
Pariganyate
pariganyate
ihamutra phala bhoga viragah
ihamutra phala bhoga viragah
tadanantaram
tadanantaram
shamadhi shatka sampattihi
samadhi shatka sampattihi
mumukshutvam iti sphutam.
mumukshutvam iti sputam.
Adau nitya vastu vivekah pariganyate ihamutra phala bhoga viraga tadanantaram shamadhi shatka sampattir mumukshutvam iti sphutam. So this is essentially a rephrasing or repetition of the 17th shloka. There he talked about a viveki and viraktaha, which are the person with those qualities. Here he talks about the quality itself. Nitya anitya vastu vivekaha adau. Adau means in the beginning or as the first one among the four. Nitya anitya vastu vivekaha. So vivekaha, the word vivekaha means to discriminate. And discriminate in today's world is used in a very negative sense. So they talk about gender discrimination, racial discrimination, and all that. But in the Shastras, especially in the Vedantic Shastra, the word discrimination is used in a very positive sense. How is it positive sense? It is to know the truth from the untruth. We say, we say in English, there is a saying, sifting, SIFTANG, sifting the chaff from the grain. Chaff is CHAFF, which is the covering on top of a grain. In India, you can see a lot of places where rice is cultivated. And when they harvest the rice, they don't get rice grains as such. They get what is called paddy. And paddy is basically a rice covered by a husk. And then there is a process of separating the cover from the actual grain. So what comes out as the covering is called chaff, CHAFF. So sifting means to separate the two. So that's a technique. If you go to the villages where they adopt the old techniques even today, they will wait for the wind to blow. And once the wind blows, they will take a heap of this grain and then drop it from the top. And the wind will take away the lighter husk, and the heavier grain will fall directly below. So that's one of the techniques they use. So like that, discrimination means to separate the truth from the untruth, or to separate one type of thing from another type of thing. You can give it in a general definition also, but in this context it is nitya anitya vastu viveka. So nityam means the permanent one. And what is the permanent one? When we say permanent one, it means the absolutely permanent one, which is not bound by space and time. Nityam means trikalepi abadhyam. In Sanskrit, there is a definition. Trikalepi abadhyam means it is not disturbed in the three times, past, present, and future. And it is not bound by space. So it is available everywhere, all the time. That is paramarthika satyam, absolute truth. That is nityam. And anityam is anything that is bound by space and time. That is, all transactional entities are anityam. Even the sun is anityam. After a few million years, the sun will be gone. After a few hundreds of millions of years, the universe will be gone. So everything is anityam. Even the scale of time may be large or small. That's a different thing. But everything is within space and time. So that is the nitya anitya vastu viveka, the ability to distinguish between what is truth and what is transient. What is transient and what is intransient, or what is eternal. That is pariganyate. Adau pariganyate means it is listed in the very beginning. Pariganyate really means to be counted.
Yeah.
So it is counted as the first, the most important quality. Then what? Iha amutra phala bhoga viragaha tad anantaram. Tad anantaram means after that. Number 2, position number 2. Iha amutra phala bhoga viragaha. So viragaha basically means detachment, or you can say indifference. And what is that indifference towards? Iha amutra phala bhoga viragaha. So iha means here. Here means in this world or in this janma. Amutra means the other world or other janma. People do a lot of rituals to reach the Swarga and Brahmaloka and all that. So if you want to gather punyam so that your next janma is in good shape, that is also amutra phala bhoga. And bhoga means to enjoy. So a person who is not at all interested in the material enjoyments and possessions, either in this life or in the other life, next life, that kind of a detachment is called vairagyam. And that is here, iha amutra phala bhoga viragaha. That's a quality. Then Shamadhi Shatka Sampattihi is the third quality. Then Mumukshutvam is the fourth quality. It is Sputam. Sputam means very clear. So, from the words of the learned people, from the words of the wise people, this much is very clear that this Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka, Ihamutra Phalabhoga Viraga, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, and Mumukshutvam are the four extremely essential qualities to be developed. So, that is 19. Okay. And we move on to 20.
Yes.
Brahma Satyam Jaganmithya.
Brahma Satyam Jaganmithya.
Jaganmithya.
Ityevam Rupo Vinishchayah.
Ityevam Rupo Vinishchayah.
Soyam Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekah.
Soyam Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekah.
Samudahritah.
Samudahritah.
Brahma Satyam Jaganmithyetyevam Rupo Vinishchayah. Soyam Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekah. Samudahritah. So, this shloka defines Vivekaha once again. You know, in the first 19th itself, he said Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha. So, here he is telling you what is Nitya Vastu. Brahma Satyam. Brahman alone is Satyam, Paramarthika Satyam. It is not bound by space and time. Whereas Jagan Mithya. Jagat is all of this world, including your body-mind complex. Your body-mind complex is also part of the world. It is also Anatma. That Jagat is Mithya. Okay, now Mithya, I think it will be defined somewhere else. It comes in the 105 or 106 somewhere. What is Maya, what is Mithya, all that is defined. But I'll give you just a quick definition here. Mithya is neither Sat nor Asat. It is neither Sat nor Asat. Here the word Sat means absolute truth. And Asat means absolute non-existent. So what is the example for an absolute non-existent? We give a few examples. We give rabbit horn as an example of absolute non-existence. Rabbits don't have a horn. Okay, so you will never find a rabbit horn anywhere. Or you can say human horn. I don't think any tribe in the world has a horn, the human beings. You can say human horn. Or in the Shastras, they give another example. Vandhya Putraha.
Yeah.
So the word Vandhya means a barren woman. A barren woman who is incapable of bearing a child. That is Vandhya. And Putraha means son. Okay, so a Vandhya by definition cannot have a Putra or a Putri. So Vandhya Putraha just cannot exist. Because if she has a Putra, she is not a Vandhya. Okay, so these are some of the examples of absolute non-existence. And Mithya is something which is neither absolutely existent nor absolutely non-existent. It is called apparently existing. It is called apparently existing, or that which enjoys borrowed existence. So this is a very neutral definition. Okay, so what is borrowed existence? We give a lot of examples. So if you talk about a pot, is there something really called a pot? No, because pot is nothing but clay with a certain name and form. So pot does not enjoy a real existence on its own. It borrows its existence from clay. Similarly, the golden ornament really has no existence apart from the gold that contains, that makes the ornament. If you take a golden ornament and remove all the gold from that ornament, there will be no ornament, because what you call an ornament is nothing but gold in a given shape and you give a name. It's a name and form. So in Sanskrit we call it nama rupa. So mithya means something that borrows existence from something else and it is just a name and form. So we say that this world really doesn't exist as a substance. It is just Brahman appearing in a certain name and form. Nama Rupam. No. Trayam va idagum Nama Rupa Karma Jagat. That is in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So there the Shruti says this world is nothing but name, form and function. That's all. It doesn't have a substantial existence. So that is Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Jagan Mithya. So all this was an explanation for Mithya. Evam Rupo Vinischaya. So to know this fact without an iota of doubt, Vinischaya means completely certain about it, 200% certain, no doubt about it. This knowledge, Soyam Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha Samudahrata. This is defined as the Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha. So that Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha in the first line of 19th shloka is defined in so many words in the 20th shloka. Okay. All good?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, sir.
Right. So we'll go to 21. Tad Vairagyam Jihasaya
Tat
Tad
vairagyam
vairagyam
jihasaya
jihasaya
Darshana Shravanadibhihi
darshana
darshana
shravanadibhi
shravanadibhihi
Dehadi Brahmaparyante
dehadi brahma paryante
paryante
Hyanitye Bhogavastuni.
ह्यनित्ये भोगवस्तुनि
Bhogavastuni.
Tad Vairagyam Jihasaya Darshana Shravanadibhihi Dehadi Brahmaparyante Hyanitye Bhogavastuni. So, Tad Vairagyam. What is Vairagyam? That is being defined in 21 here. Darshana Shravanadibhihi Jihasa. Dehadi Brahmaparyante Jihasa. Anitye Bhogavastuni Jihasa. So that Jihasa has to be connected with all the three. Jihasa means a kind of withdrawal, you can say. Non-indulgence. You can give those words, Jihasa, in the Sanskrit definition will be Hatum Ichha Jihasa or something like that. So Hatum Ichha means your desire to lose. Normally you desire to gain something. Normally your Ichha or your desire is always generally to gain something, but here this person is desirous of losing what? Darshana Shravanadivihi. So Darshanam Shravanam. Darshanam is experiencing objects with your eyes, visual experience. Shravanam is auditory experience, listening to good music and all that. So this generally refers to all the sense experiences that you may have through your sense organs. It includes eating good food, it includes having all the maja of life, everything. So all the kama vastus that we generally go after, withdrawal from those experiences, that is darshana shravana adibhi. That word adi means etc. Etc means all the other bhogas. Bhogavastuni comes separately later on. Okay. Dehadi Brahmaparyante. And it is not only related to the experiences that you enjoy with this body in this world, but it is also extended to all kinds of experiences that you might be able to get in all the lokas, all the way up to Brahma Loka. We have 7 lokas We have 7 lokas, higher lokas defined, which starts from Bhuloka. So you have Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Suvarloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, and Satyaloka. There are 7 planes of existence starting from this world. And there are 7 nether worlds, or bottom going down up to Naraka. You know, that's what we call Naraka. Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Mahatala, Patala. There are 7 lower lokas and there are 7 upper lokas. And so this person is not interested in any of those experiences that you may get in any of the higher swargas, including Ramba, Urushi, Menaka dances. He is not interested. That is the level of vairagyam or the detachment he has developed. So Dehadi Brahma Paryante, up to Brahma Loka he has given up. Okay. Anitye Bhoga Vastuni. Anitye means temporary. It is not going to be there forever. So even in the Shastras, what we say is, if somebody manages to go to Brahmaloka or even any other Swargaloka, he will be there for a certain unit of time. That unit of time may be a very big unit of time, but still, at the end of that unit of time, he has to leave that loka and come to a lower loka. So, in that sense, every loka that you may go to is a temporary loka. No, you may be there for 1,000 Chaturyuga, but that 1,000 Chaturyuga also will come to an end at some point, and at that point, you have to come to a lower loka. So, that is how it is Anitya. Okay. Bhoga Vastuni means all objects of enjoyment. So, this person is very clear, Funda, super clear. He doesn't want any of those external enjoyments. He wants that one immortal achievement which is called moksha. So that is the meaning here. 21. Any questions? Funda clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not clear, sir.
Okay. And 22. Which Virajya Vishayavratat
Virajya Vishaya Vratat
Dosha Drishtya Muhurmuhu
Dosha
Drishya Muhurmuhu
Swalakshye Niyatavastha
Swalakshye Niyatavastha
Manasah Shama Uchyate.
Manasah Shama Uchyate
Virajya Vishayavratat Dosha Drishtya Muhurmuhu Swalakshye Niyatavastha Manasah Shama Uchyate. So, Vishayavratat Dosha Drishtya Virajya. Virajya means to stay aloof from. So, this Virakti or Vairagyam that we saw in the previous shloka is here given in a verbal form. Virajya. To move away from. Away from what? Vishaya Vratat. Vishaya Vratat means all the sense pleasures. Vishayam generally means sense object. Vishayam in Shastra is used in the sense of sense object. You know, so if you look at something beautiful, that is a sense object for the eyes. If you listen to some melodious music, that's a sense object for the ears. Like that, all experiential objects are Vishayas. Vishaya Vratat means all the attractions that the Vishayas will provide. And why do you keep aloof from? Dosha Drishtya. Dosha Drishtya means you see the deficiency or the negative aspect of those experiences. So what are those negative experiences? First of all, any experience is limited in time. Any experience will never last forever. You know, it may be there for 1 hour, half an hour. It may be for 2 days, 2 years also sometimes. But at some point, that experience will come to an end. So, while the experience is pleasurable, while you are experiencing it, when the experience goes away, which it will eventually, that absence of that happiness which the experience gave you will hit you as some kind of a sorrow. So that is the, shall we say, some kind of a long-term vision that this person has towards any experience. I mean, that doesn't mean he'll run away from experience. So what that means is, even while he goes through the experience, he will not get emotionally hooked on to the experience. That is the meaning of virajya.
Yeah.
So experience by itself is neither good or bad.
Yeah.
Let us understand that, because as long as we live in this body, we will go through experiences. You cannot avoid experiences. There may be good experiences, there may be not so good experiences, there may be even horrible experiences. You will go through experiences, but the trick is not to get hooked on to it when the experience is very good, and not to get totally depressed by it when the experience is bad. To maintain a certain poise and equanimity, again and again, this is what is told in Gita also. Sukha dukkhe same kritva, labha labho jaya jayo. This kind of a thing comes repeatedly in Gita. And that is to say that, look, whatever experiences you may go through, don't get hooked on to it. Neither good nor bad experience. You keep a kind of a mental distance from all your experiences. And the word muhur muhuhu means repeatedly. So you don't do it with just one or two experiences. You do it with every experience in a repeated manner. And along with that, swalakshye niyatavastha. Swalakshye. Here the word swalakshyam means the ultimate objective. And what is the ultimate objective? Brahmanishtha. That you should never forget. Sannishtha. We saw that word sannishtha some 3 slokas back. Where did we saw? 18. Yeshu satsveva sannishtha. That sannishtha or brahmanishtha is the swalakshyam. Swalakshye niyata avastha. Niyata means to be steadfast, to be anchored, to be firmly anchored in your objective, and not let your mind waver with the experience. That is manasaha shama uchyate. So essentially, shama means mind control. And mind control cannot happen on its own. Mind control has to go along with sense control, which he will talk in the next sloka. Okay, because ultimately, what kindles your mind? Most of the times, the mind is kindled by some external stimulus coming from the external world through the sense organs. So the sense organs are the gateway through which the external world enters into our mind. So you can never talk about mind control without also talking about sense control. So that sense control will be the subject of the next shloka. But here the objective is to ultimately keep your mind focused steadily. Swalakshye niyatavastha. Don't ever lose sight of your ultimate objective. My Guruji, he gives a very beautiful example. You can relate to it only, in the Indian context. In India, before the times of Vande Bharat and all that, we used to have regular normal express trains, which go on for 36 hours. Like, for instance, if I have to travel from Chennai to Delhi back in those days, and I was a student, it would take 36 hours with a Grand Trunk Express. And the Grand Trunk Express will stop in some 30-35 places along the way. Okay, and in some stations, it will stop for 10 minutes, 15 minutes and all that. That will be your lunch time or dinner time or tea time. So we would get down from the train into the platform and buy some samosa or buy some puri, buy some chai and all that. And then, but even though you get down and enjoy your tea, you're always having one eye on the signal when the amber becomes green. Your train is going to start, and you will not pay so much attention to the chai or samosa that you will miss the train. So you are always, conscious of your end station in mind. Like that, all these experiences that we have in life, it's like having chai or puri in the stations in between. You should never miss the train. You should always keep that ultimate end station in mind. So that is the example my Guruji gives. Okay, so you can remember this. You can relate to it probably. If you have traveled by train in India, you can relate to it. Yeah, right.
Yes.
That was 22. Can we go to 23?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So, Vishayebhyah Paravartya
Vishayebhyah paravartya
Sthapanam Swaswagolake.
Sthapanam swaswagolake
Ubhayesham Indriyanam
Ubhayesham Indriyanam
Sa Damah Parikirtitah.
Sadamah Parikirtitah.
Okay, we'll stop here because there is a third line, but that is not connected to Dhamma. So we'll read it separately. Okay, so Vishayebhyah Paravartya Sthapanam Swaswagolake Ubhayesham Indriyanam Sadama Parikirtitah. So as I said, we are talking about Damaha, which is actually the sense organs control. Okay, and what is the definition? Vishayebhyah Paravartya. Vishayebhyah, again, Vishayam means objects of experience. That is Vishayam. Vishayebhyah Paravartya means having withdrawn from the objects of experience. Swaswagolake sthapanam. Sthapanam ubhayesham indriyanam. That is important. Swaswagolake ubhayesham indriyanam sthapanam. Okay, so ubhayesham indriyanam means ubhaya normally is used to mean two. When there are two entities and you want to refer to both of them together, it is called ubhaya.
Both.
Yeah, both. Okay, but why is the Acharya saying both here? Because there are so many sense organs. What does he mean? So what he means is, we have 5 organs of perception, what we call Jnanendriya, and we have 5 organs of action, what we call Karmendriya. So he is connecting all the 10 organs and having classified them as organs of perception in one basket and organs of action in the other basket. He says with organs contained in both of these baskets have to be kept in their respective places. The word golakam means the physical station for the indriya. And I think I have given this definition very clearly in the very early classes. Indriyam belongs to the Sukshma Shariram and Golakam belongs to the Sthula Shariram. So the physical eye that you have is the Golakam for the Indriyam called the eye. The seeing power is the Indriyam. And the seeing power is located in the physical eye, which is the Golakam. Similarly, the physical ear and all the internal mechanisms, like cochlea and all that. You have the hammer, anvil, stirrup. If you have biology lessons, you would remember that. Hammer, anvil, stirrup, and there is a membrane and all that. Yeah, cochlea.
Chain
The
of
whole
small
thing is the
bones.
physical golakam. And the power of hearing is called the indriyam. Similarly, your hands are there. The hands are the golakam. The power to move the hand and lift heavy weights is the indriyam of your hand, hastendriyam. Similarly, the physical legs are there. The power to walk or to run or to jump is the work of the indriyam which drives the golakam. So like that, all the indriyas have to be restrained in their respective golakams, and it is like keeping a small 2-year-old 3-year-old child sit quietly in one place for 10 minutes. It's a little like that. So your indriyas are always moving about because they are always externally oriented. So you must be able to hold back not one or two indriyas, but all the 10 indriyas in one place for a good length of time. That control of sense organs is called damaha. Okay. Indri vishayebhya paravartya sthapanam swasvagolake. So you don't allow the indriyam to get attracted by the objects of experience, and pull them and keep them in their respective places. Like for instance, some people have to keep on moving their legs unnecessarily. Even when they're talking, let's say they're sitting in a chair and they're talking, they'll keep on moving their knees and legs and all that. That's a very involuntary movement. Even that is not supposed to be a good control. You must be able to sit still for some time. So that is damaha. Okay, is that okay? Can we move on to next line?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll read that one line at the end of 23. Bahyanalambaram
Bahyanalambanam
vrittehe
vrittehe
eshaha
eshaha
uparatiruttama.
uparatiruttama.
Okay, it must be esha actually, because uttama is strilingam. Vrittehe esha uparatiruttama. Okay, so vrittehe. So vritti is your thought. Every thought that you have is called a vritti. It is the configuration of your mind. Your mind can change its configuration in infinite ways, and each configuration corresponds to a particular thought. Okay, so that is vritti. Bahya analambanam vrittehe. Bahya means external. Alambanam means to extend or to expand, stretch. These are all the meanings of alambanam. Okay. So analambanam is not to extend outside or not to expand outside. That means what? Do not let your mind stray into the world. Don't allow your mind to go into a world tour. Okay. Keep it focused on internal observation. Okay. This is uparati. So here the word uparati is defined in one line. So don't let your mind wander. Keep it still. Ultimately, the intention of uparati is not to have a thoughtless mind. It is to make the mind repeat certain designed thoughts, custom designed thought, like aham brahmasmi and all that. But in order for the mind to do that, it should first quieten. If the mind is not quiet, it will not listen to your specially designed thoughts. That mantras, it will not listen. So you first have to bring the mind to a quiet state, and then ask the mind to take one mantra or the other and repeat it ad nauseam. That is uparati for now. When we actually come to samadhi abhyasa, we will define uparati slightly differently. We will say it is to be focused on the mantra. But here we say, do not allow the mind to stray outside. That is uparatihi. Okay, so you may wonder, how is this different from shama? Because in shama also the mind is involved. Okay, in shama also the mind is involved. In uparati also we are talking about the mind alone. What is the difference? So what we say is, in shama we deal with an extroverted mind and convert that extroverted mind into an internally focused mind. And in Uparati, we deal with an internally focused mind and keep it in that internally focused state.
Okay.
And not allow it to become extroverted. So that is a subtle difference. Okay. I hope it's not complicated.
No, sir. Now it's clear.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So we'll go to 24. Sahanam sarvadukhanam
Sahanam sarva
Sahanam sarva
dukkhanam
dukkhanam
apratikara purvakam
apratikara purvakam
chinta vilaparahitam
chinta
vilaparahitam
ta titiksha nigadyate.
ta
titiksha nigadyate.
Sahanam sarvadukhanam apratikara purvakam chinta vilaparahitam sa titiksha nigadyate. So here the quality is titiksha. And just to give a high context, starting from 22, where we are talking about shama and dama and all that, those are the 6 qualities which we together called Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. So Shama, Dama, we saw Uparama also, that is Uparati. Now we are talking about Titiksha in the 24th sloka, and in 25 we'll talk about Shraddha, and in 26 we'll talk about Samadhanam. Okay, so the 6 qualities together is called Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Shatka means 6, a group of 6, and Sampatti means wealth. So these qualities are actually some kind of a wealth that we are earning. By developing these qualities, we are actually earning some Vedantic wealth. So this currency is accepted in the Vedantic world. Okay, in that sense, it's a wealth. So coming back to 24, Sahanam sarvadukhanam apratikara purvakam. So sahanam means to tolerate. To tolerate, to put up with. In English, there is a word called forbearance, endurance. You can use all those words. Even endurance you can use. Sarvadukhanam, all kinds of negative, painful experiences. So dukkham can be physical, it can be mental, it can be sometimes even intellectual. Some people have intellectual dukkham, that they are not able to solve a particular problem. Okay, or they are not able to achieve certain targets. Those are all dukkham. Yeah, so all kinds of dukkham, sahanam, endure, put up with. How? Apratikara purvakam. Now pratikaram really means to react, and here it is not just even reacting. Sometimes you may want to retaliate. How is this possible? I am going to smash that fellow. Some kind of you can develop a rage because of some negative experience. That is also a pratikaram. So whether it is some kind of a reaction, either at the mental level, we talked about FIR, right? So frequency, intensity, and recovery time. All those reactions are pratikaram. The pratikaram or reaction can be at a mental level. Your reaction can come out as some words, abusive words, or you can shout, all that, or you may even end up bashing somebody. You can get into physical rage. All that is reaction or pratikaram. So none of that reaction should be allowed. You have to hold your mind in a calm and composed manner. That is apratikara purvakam. And that's not enough. Chinta vilaparahitam. Okay, now you may be tolerating a lot of nonsense, but you may keep on thinking about it and lamenting internally or worrying about it. That is chinta. Or you may lament about it verbally to somebody in your family or somebody in your circle. Keep on talking about your problems to others. That is vilapa. Okay, so chinta also should be avoided. Vilapa is also to be avoided. You just take it, swallow it, digest it, and move on. That is the expectation. That quality is called titiksha. Sa titiksha nigadyate. So that ability to absorb all those negative experiences and move on as though nothing happened. We have this word in English called stoic, STOIC.
Yeah.
So very often people are stoic only when it comes to expressing their pain. They don't express their pain, but internally they may be burning with that. That is also a pratikaram. So you are not supposed to damage your emotional well-being also. So you have to swallow it. I mean, that is one of the messages that you get in that Amrita Mathanam story, where the Alahala Visham is given to Shiva. When the Amrita Mathanam happens, a lot of things come out. And somewhere along the line, even that deadly poison comes. That Alahala Visham. That is given to Shiva, and he takes it and then keeps it in his throat. He doesn't swallow it. He just keeps it and manages to handle it. So that is the message that, when something toxic happens, you should be able to swallow it, but not completely eat it. That level of maturity is here called titiksha. Okay. Is that good enough, or you want something more?
It's good, sir. It's a very important aspect, actually. Yeah, we can hear even more also. Yeah, good.
All these are very important. So
Yeah.
I don't know how much to give weightage to all of them. They're all equally
Yeah.
important. So, the point is, when we go back to the 360 plus shlokas, what the Acharya will keep on saying is, if you have problem in transforming your behavior in accordance with the Shravanam and Mananam, it is because one or the other of these qualities is still not in sufficient quantity.
Okay.
So you have to work on improving these qualities. That is the message he's going to give in that section, but we will go there when we actually go there. So here we are learning what these qualities are actually supposed to be.
I mean, the other things are something to do with us, to our indriyas or mind or control, focus, everything. This is something special. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say more or less, but this is something like we come across someone like us and still, it's a big balance. You're including someone just like us also in the category. The other things are just me. That way I wanted to say. But yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, good. So we will go to 25. Is that okay? Yeah. 25. Shastrasya guruvakyasya
शास्त्रस्य गुरुवाक्यस्य
satyabuddhya
सत्यबुद्ध्या
avadharanam
अवधारणम्
sa shraddha kathita
सा श्रद्धा कथिता
tadbhihi
सद्भिः
yaya vastu
यया वस्तु
upalabhyate.
उपलभ्यते
शास्त्रस्य गुरुवाक्यस्य सत्यबुद्ध्यावधारणं सा श्रद्धा कथिता sadbhiryaya vastupalabhyate. So here we are talking about shraddha, and generally people mistake shraddha to be some kind of a blind faith. That is not correct. Shraddha is some kind of an educated trust on someone that they cannot go wrong. And the best example we give is the kind of faith that the child has in its mother. So we are not talking about a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old. At that time, the child is no longer a child. But we're talking about a 2-year-old, 3-year-old child, which is looking up to the mother all the time for guidance. So that kind of a trust, knowing that the mother can do us nothing wrong, that trust is Shraddha. And a similar trust the student must have in the Guru. So that is what the Acharya says here. Shastrasya Guruvakyasya. Shastram, what the Shastra says, and the words of the Guru. And here, one point you should note. A Guru is a Guru only when he teaches the Shastra. If the Guru teaches anything else, he is not a Guru. Okay, I am saying this because in today's world, there are so many people who go around calling themselves Guru and Acharya also sometimes. But they are basically giving their own philosophy, their own cooked up philosophy. Whatever they say has no bearing to the traditional Shastras that we have been, following for thousands of years. Which is why a Guru has to come from a certain established Guru Parampara. If that person talks about any other philosophy which is not part of a proper traditional Parampara, then you should run miles away from that person. So that is something the Acharya says in this shloka, Shastrasya Guruvakyasya. When the Shastras come from the mouth of the Guru, Satyabuddhya Avadharanam. Avadharanam means to keep it in your mind. Like, we give an example in Tamil, when the tree is very young and you drive a nail into it, it will just go smoothly, like, knife through a butter. So the way the student should receive the teaching should be with that kind of a readiness, that it goes deep into his consciousness and stays there forever. The word we use in Tamil is Pasu Marattila Ani. Ani means a nail.
Nail.
And Pasu Maram means a young tree. It's not some 200-year-old tree. In a 200-year-old tree, the trunk may be very hard. Okay, and sometimes if you drive a nail, it may even crack the tree. But this young tree still has a lot of green inside the trunk, and you drive a nail into it, it will go like a butter, it will go smoothly. So the way the student should receive the teaching is also like that. It should penetrate the mind of the student and stay there forever. And that happens only when the student has that openness and trust that whatever the Guru says is true and good for me. So that is the Satya Buddhya Avadharanam. So the student receives the teaching with total trust and faith, and he knows that this teaching will not do him any harm, but it will be only for his good. That is Shraddha. Sa Shraddha Kathita Tadbhihi. Tadbhihi here means the learned people. So the learned people call this quality as Shraddha. Yaya Vastu Upalabhyate. And the word Vastu here means finally Brahma Vidya or Brahman itself. Okay, Yaya Vastu Upalabhyate means only in this manner you will ultimately acquire the Brahma Vidya, which will then give you the Brahma Jnanam, Atma Jnanam. You will only get through that Shraddha. Without Shraddha, you will not be able to acquire Jnanam. That means you should not question the Shastras. In the Bhagavad Gita also, There is one shloka, I think it comes in the 5th chapter or 7th chapter. I have to check. There is one very good shloka. Give me 1 second. Yeah, 5th chapter. 4th chapter, 40th shloka. Okay, 39 and 40. I'll read the shloka. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatpara samyatendriya jnanam ladhva param shantim achirena adhigacchati. So that is actually the glorification of Shraddha. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Only someone who has Shraddha will attain jnanam. Okay. Then the next shloka says, Agnyascha shraddadhanascha samshayatma vinashyati. Nayam lokosti na paro na sukham samshayatmanaha. So Agnyascha. Agnya means the ignorant one. Agnya is ignorant one. Ashraddadhanaha means one who lacks in Shraddha. And they are both samshayatma. Samshayatma means one who is always doubting the teaching. The doubting the teaching is also an indication of lack of Shraddha. And all of them will vinashyati, they will perish. Perish means what? From a shastric or from a spiritual point of view, they will perish. Not physically, but from a spiritual point of view, they will not make spiritual progress. So there Krishna also says very categorically that Shraddha is very important, and keeping on doubting the Shastra is not going to take you anywhere. So that is Shraddha Sadbhir Yaya Vastupalabhyate. Only that will take you to Brahmajnanam. So we still have Samadhanam in the 26th shloka, and then we have Mumuksha in the 27th shloka. Those two we will see in the next week.
Yeah.
We will stop here for today. Yeah, we'll chant the closing shlokas and maybe spend 1 minute after that. Yeah. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarvepi Sukhinas Santu Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So,
Thank you very much.
yeah, Yashaswini ma'am, can you stop the recording?
Yes.
Yeah.